what are your views on the whole red pill thing? Let's have Michael start this one again. I've been wondering about this.
Yeah, so there's Christ, there's Christianity, and then there's the church. Those are three different things. Christ was perfect. Christians kind of fuck up sometimes, and the church isn't a person. It just kind of does whatever. There's Rollo Tomassi, there's the book The Rational Male, and then there's the red pill. Those are three different things. Rollo does not fucking hate women. Rollo is actually pretty politically moderate, and he gets misquoted all the time. I literally heard Lotus Eater the other day, just the other day, when his interview with Alex Date Sykes, saying something to the effect of, they're all saying that 20% of the men are fucking 80% of the women. No, we're not. No one in Red Pill said that. No one did. What they did was they quoted a Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge study showing that 80% of men on dating apps are deemed unattractive. Red Pill. So I distance myself from Red Pill. I say Red Pill adjacent. In that Red Pill is a study or an obligation to objective truth. I'm pro Red Pill. In that it includes prescriptions that include hating women. I am not red pill. I have no connection with that. But most importantly is the guy who made up the term back in 2003, who started using it in the manosphere, which was Rollo Tomassi in 2003 in the So Swab forum. He doesn't have those feelings either. We have shows in Vegas, Access Vegas. Afterwards, the girls fucking love Rollo. They want to hang out with him. They love fucking, he's super charismatic dude. But what happens is he's surrounded by the mana swamp full of people that are very fucking angry, and it taints the whole thing. So for me personally, I would just abandon ship and be like, let's just stop calling this red pill. It's just fucking ugly what's happening. It also, the other issue is it gets me a lot of airtime on certain shows, but like, I don't think it's funny, Chris Williamson messaged Rollo or messaged Myron Gaines the other day to like go on to talk to him, whatever, but won't go on his show. It's one of these weird things. Like Scott Galloway and we message each other, but I don't think Scott Galloway wants to do my show because of my affiliation with some of this stuff, even though I'm using his data. Richard Reeves was brave enough to come on our show because he was trying to sell a book, but like, it's people like Gad Sad is another person. Gad Sad should be in this conversation, but doesn't want to be in this conversation because of red pill ideology, which is totally being bastardized on places like the Daily Wire. When the Daily Wire is referring to red pill, do you know what they mean? They only mean one person. Do you know who it is? Anybody?
Pearl Davis.
Pearl Davis. Pearl Davis is actually one of the people who manages her whole business is a member of Daily Wire. And so Pearl Davis will make a quote, and then the people on Daily Wire will say, those red pill guys. They don't, if they quote Rollo, they'll never say Rollo's name, but they will with Pearl Davis. Pearl Davis has now taken red pill and said, well, all red pill guys want to repeal the 19th Amendment. No, the fuck they don't. Like, this is utter madness. So because the term has been so bastardized and it's such an easy target to punch at, to me, I think an obligation to objective truth, I'm cool. If you want to call it the red pill, whatever, you don't get a red pill fucking membership card. You don't pay red pill dues. It's not a thing you belong to. You can't red pill something. Like, it's just the whole term is the term has been bastardized. So in that, I am not like, I don't think women are worthless or whatever. Like, in that, I do not agree with those concepts, but those people aren't red pill. They're just frustrated fucking people who either been jilted by women, or this is another thing. And of all people, it was John Zerka who told me this, and turns out to be completely true. It is 9 to 13-year-old kids who leave these fucking horrible comments on these YouTube videos and TikTok videos. That's essentially what's going on. So the whole thing is messed up. Personally, I'm more interested in people improving themselves, and I don't give a fuck what color pill you call it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like the fucking like 9 to 13-year-old. Like, I think there's a lot of fucking men. Obviously, I probably shouldn't call them men, but people that should be the age of men that are following all this advice, right? Like, obviously, Paul goes crazy with it. Fresh and Fit go crazy with it from what I've seen. It's nice to hear that you're differentiating yourself from the red pill and saying you're not a part of it. I'm curious. I haven't seen much of Rollo's stuff. Does he consider himself red pill still, and what does he do to combat this? Because there is this whole idea of like women hating, right? You're saying he doesn't. I believe you. I haven't seen a lot of his stuff. What does he do to combat this shit? Because I know I've seen on Fresh and Fit, they reference him all the time. They like, seems like they jerk him off a little bit. Does he ever come out and say, yo, half the shit that says on Fresh and Fit, 1 isn't true and 2 sounds a little bit women hating?
Well, like, the parts that you would disagree with on Fresh and Fit would be their interpretation of what goes on. So for instance, when he makes statements like, hey, most of the time, guys, when a girl's asking you to wait for sex, just let you know that the last guy that she was super attracted to, she didn't make him wait for sex. I agree with that. That's something Rollo Tomasi said. I actually agree with that concept. But what happens is then these other content creators will take that forward and be like, women are always lying to you. Don't trust women. Like, that's not what Rollo said. So is there a difference?
So
Yes
with
and
that
no?
exact example,
Yeah.
what does he mean by that? Like, so if I have a student where he gets what is quoted as like LMR. So basically he's got a date and the girl's like, look, I don't sleep with guys on the first date. He's saying that she does usually sleep with guys on the first date, but just not him. Like, what's his message?
She said, he's saying if she was attracted enough to a guy, she would probably sleep with him on the first date. What I found is that when women consistently say, when you talk to a woman, be like, I never sleep with a guy on a first date, we all know it's because she has. She wouldn't be making the rule. If someone came to me and goes, hey, Michael, are you Russian? I'd be like, no, I'm not Russian. I wouldn't be like, fuck no, I'm not Russian, bitch. What are you talking? I would be like, no, I'm not Russian. It's not a big deal because I'm not defensive about it. But when you ask women about them sleeping with guys on the first date, when they get super animated about it, it's because they fucked Brock the bartender and he never called her back. And so in this situation, I agree with him. Now, here's the thing, Marcus, it's a great distinction. Rollo.
So just on that point, though, that point, because I don't necessarily think that's true. So I'm curious, like, where this take comes from, because if that is the case, right? Say they fucked like Brock, and then Brock never messaged back, and now she's got her feelings hurt. So this is the girl that's coming from a place of, okay, I've learned from life experience. I got to be careful where I put my emotions and put my investment, because I really cared about Brock, right? I slept with Brock. I thought it was going somewhere. He was indicating that he wanted a relationship, right? Like, to people fuck by lying, and he fucked me over. Okay. But now I've met Michael. Michael seems amazing too. He's a really good looking guy. Everything seems great, but I'm really scared to put my emotions in here. So she says, hey, look, I don't sleep with guys on the first date. I don't do that. I don't think it's because she's lacking attraction for you. I think it's because she's been hurt and she's like using a coping mechanism here. And so the way to get over that might be like, look, if you're like top, like fucking 0.1%, maybe, but I think the way to get over it would be like, look, I'm willing to see you again. Like, I'm not that fuckboy that's trying to like just fuck you over, is the way I would see it. Right.
No. And I agree with you that that's what you should do. But what you're doing now is a prescription. What he's doing is a description.
No.
This is where
I'm talking about the description of it. I'm saying it's not because there's a lack of value and she's not attracted. I'm saying it's because it's a coping mechanism from being hurt. That's the description I'm saying that I'm disagree with.
So there's a couple things here. First off, I've seen what you've said before, and generally when they go from the really good looking guy to later on when they're like, I got my feelings hurt by the really good looking guy who ended up being a fuckboy, that also tends to coincide with a certain age, like between 28 and 30. And there's this thing where it's like, well, okay, now I've decided that I'm only going to date for relationships. And when I meet those women and I go to EDC, Bilzerian's house, fucking Maxim party, Ibiza, wherever, they go right back to fucking Brock the bartender as soon as he shows up. I have found what they're doing is they had a period where they were, listen, by the way, I'm not blaming women. If women want to fuck 100 dudes, go do it. But they'll have this period where they go through a wild period. They'll meet a guy they think is a nice guy. They'll treat him like a nice guy and withhold sex. And they'll say, I'm not like that anymore. Then if you put them back in that same environment, they go right back to doing what they were doing before, because there isn't enough. So like, I understand what you're describing it as, like this self-reflection that has caused evolution and caused them to better themselves. And what I found is, no, it has to do with just like regret. And so because the strategy wasn't working, they wouldn't do it. But you put them right next to Drake and they're right back to fucking him just as soon.